Welcome friends, my name is T.K. Mayuri Madhukar. Today's my seminar topic is enzyme inhibition. So what is meant by enzyme inhibition? Enzyme inhibition refers to a decreases in enzyme related processes, enzyme production or enzyme activity. Then what is meant by enzyme inhibitors? An enzyme inhibitor, it is a molecule that binds to an enzyme and decreases its activity. It means that the enzyme inhibitors is a compound that decreases the rate or velocity of an enzyme catalyzed reaction. That is, the enzyme inhibitor may be organic or inorganic in nature. Inhibitors such as drugs, antibiotics, toxins, and antimetabolites or natural products of the enzyme reaction. Then types of enzyme inhibitors, that is reversible enzyme inhibitors, irreversible enzyme inhibitors. In this we see reversible enzyme inhibitors. Reversible enzyme inhibitors classified into competitive inhibitors, non-competitive inhibition and uncompetitive inhibition. So we see now reversible enzyme inhibition. So what is meant by reversible enzyme inhibition? A reversible enzyme inhibitors is a molecule that binds reversibly to the enzyme and slows down or inhibits the reaction rate. Then competitive inhibition. Competitive inhibition, it is the type of reversible inhibition. In competitive inhibition means substrate come to enzyme inhibitor goes on compete for the substrate to bind with active site of the enzyme, and that now it innovates. So here it is enzyme and substrate can produce enzyme substrate complex by instead of the binding with substrate, it can bind with inhibitor. When the inhibitor replaces the substrate, then it forms enzyme inhibitors complex and no longer be functional. Okay, then non-competitive inhibition. In non-competitive inhibition, enzyme is their substrate can come and bind it. On the other hand, there is another site, different site, where the inhibitor can comment by attached to it. Now this different site inhibitor attachment can lead up to the blockage of the enzyme at the enzyme substrate complex state. Here it is the enzyme and substrate when they bind each other forming same substrate, and finally it will produce now where enzyme when the inhibitor non-competitive intercom seen, and it will bind to different site of the enzyme. It will block the enzyme substrate complex, so it can not only bind with free enzyme but it can also bind with the enzyme substrate complex and block it, and this in active state. Now it can be placed as E or I, and no further production can be established. Then third one, it is the uncompetitive inhibition. Here enzyme is their substrate can bind inhibited, can also bind. So here it is supposed to different substrate is there. So for example here substrate can bind, and when the substrate is bound with the enzyme, then only the inhibitor can come in and attach to it. So in this case these inhibitors can only bind with the enzyme substrate complex, not the single substrate, not the single enzyme or enzyme substrate complex. Okay, thank you.